Hello, everybody. This is Mrs. Pearson, and we're going to be talking about prehistoric art today. So we're starting off our whole art history unit that we're doing at the very beginning here with prehistoric art. So let's jump into it. So first things first, let's talk about when prehistoric art is. Prehistoric means before written records. So that's before any recorded history, which is kind of tricky because when we're talking about art that was made before written records, it's hard to know exactly what the artist's intentions were, who the artists even were, what were the circumstances that they were making art in. And the reason is because nobody was writing this stuff down, right? So we have to rely on radiocarbon dating that scientists do to try to get a date of when something was made, when was the last time humans touched it, things like that. And we also use archaeologists, when they dig, sometimes they know how old something is, depending on how far down it is in the ground. So we use that. We just use some common sense, a lot of speculation. So a lot of what we're going to be talking about today is our best guess as art historians as to what's going on, why it's going on, just based on reasoning, and then those methods that I shared with you before. So we don't know 100% for sure. When we get up into modern times, artists write about their work. There's, bills of sale. We know how much the work was sold for. We know who commissioned it. We know all of this very specific information because of records. Right now, we don't have that. So we're just using our common sense and our imagination, and we are trying to understand it. So let's jump into it. So what was life like? So we're talking about people that were living in prehistory. So around like 20,000 BCE. Now BCE means before Common Era. So right now, at the time that I'm recording this video, we are in year 2022. So if you go back 2022 years, we get to year 0, okay? Then we're going to go back 20,000 more years, okay? So let me just help you understand this again. We're in year 2022, not 20,022. Right now, we're in year 2022. We go back 2022 years to year 0. Then we're going to go back 20 more thousand years to get here. So, it's just hard to wrap your head around just how long ago this stuff was made, but try to, because it really is mind-blowing to think that art has been made for this long. So what was life like back then? People were mostly nomadic that we know of. Nomadic means that they were moving all around, right? So they didn't necessarily build these huge structures to live in forever. We'll get there with the next unit. Right now, people are moving around. They're following the herds of bison. They're following the herds of cattle. They're following the season so that they can gather and forage vegetables and fruits. So they're moving around. They're mostly living in caves or under overhangs by cliffs. So they're trying to find natural ways to shelter themselves. What was important was getting enough food to survive, guys. They are trying to survive. They need to make sure that they are good hunters, that they are killing animals to eat them, and that they are getting enough food to eat so that they don't starve. Very, very basic things, right? They were hunting, they were gathering, and people were likely believed in spiritual ideas rather than our modern science. So they did not have a lot of the modern technology that we have now. And so they likely believed in mystical, magical, spiritual ideas as to how and why they were successful or unsuccessful in their hunts. So let's look at the first one, Venus of Willendorf. Now this name, that's not necessarily the name that the artist gave to her. It's the name that art historians have given to her because we don't really know her title. So this is sort of our name for her. The artist is unknown. She was made around 25,000 BCE. So just take a second to let that sink in, just how long ago that was. She is made out of limestone. So we believe that she was likely made out of a little pebble or a little rock that somebody then used tools to scrape and carve to turn into this figure that you now see. And to get an idea of her scale, she's about 5 inches tall, not quite 5 inches tall. So she is probably like about as big as my hand. So she's a little lady. She's a large lady, but she's a little lady. So she could be carried around, which is important because if you're a nomadic person, if you don't have a specific house or a specific place that you live all the time, anything that you want to take with you has got to be small enough for you to be able to carry, right? They're not going to have a storage unit down the street to store their huge statues in. So she's got to be little so they can take her around. Now, why does she look like this? Why was she made? Again, this is all speculation, but many art historians believe that she was a fertility idol. So she's very voluptuous, meaning that she probably eats well. That would indicate that her tribe or her village or whatever group of people that she lives with are doing pretty good with the hunting and gathering. She's getting enough to eat, and she is likely going to be fertile, able to bear children. In order for a species to survive, they have to be able to bear children so that the next generation can then survive when they're gone. And so many people believe that she was a fertility idol. So she was meant to bring luck to the hunters, luck to the people, so that they would be able to bear children. We don't know for sure. That's just our best guess. Note that her hair is stylized. So we don't see a face here. We don't see realistic hair, but we see this wavy thing kind of near her face that sort of indicates hair. Next, let's look at Hall of Bulls. So again, this is the title we've given it. We don't know if it ever had a title or what the title would have been. This is by an unknown artist, possibly many artists. And this was made about 15,000 BCE. So again, we don't know exactly when it was made, but about that time frame. So maybe a little bit closer to us than Venus of Willendorf. Now, this is a painting done on the wall in a cave in Lascaux, France. The materials that were used were charred sticks. So if you've ever had a stick and stuck it in the fire and it turned all black with that like charred charcoal, that could have then been written on the wall with. Also natural clay, natural ochre, those types of things. So it's all going to be natural materials that could be found. And the story goes that the way that this cave was actually found was that this little boy in France lost his dog. He found this little hole. He thought his dog went down. He crawled down there and there were many old cave paintings. This is just one that is one of the oldest ones that we know of, and it is very well known and well documented. And as you can see, there's a lot of animals here. So why do you think they made this? There's lots of animals. We know that hunting was important. We know that they probably had mystical, magical belief systems. So one of the things that art historians believe is that they would create these drawings or paintings of animals on the wall that they could they believe that maybe it helped them get luck, so that when they went hunting, they would have this like luck with them, or like the spirit of the animal, so that they would have a successful hunting trip. Some people also believe that they would practice hunting with these, so that they would draw these on the wall and then they would go back and they would throw their arrows and practice trying to hit the animals. So we don't know for sure if it was a really practical thing like practice, or if it was more of a spiritual, mystical thing. We don't believe that it was really just purely for decoration. Like, you might have a mural on your wall just because you think it looks cool. We don't think that that was the case. We think it would probably serve some sort of utilitarian survival reason. Okay, what else did I need to say about this? Also, the cave paintings were not normally at the mouth of the cave. They were normally deeper in the cave. They were like away from the edge to be more protected. So some characteristics of prehistoric art. There was mostly cave paintings and small mobile objects, right? Not any huge sculptures, not anything on like parchment. There may have been some parchment style paintings and drawings, but these things would have been made so long ago that there's no way they would have survived. So what we have that has survived to now that we could actually find are going to be these small mobile sculptures and cave paintings. There was likely an element of magic or spirituality, focuses on hunting and survival, and made of natural materials. So you're going to see a lot of earth tones like browns, reds, ochres, tan, sienna, those types of really earthy colors. And so this is what the page in your first page in your art history book should look like. So you're going to have the title at the top, prehistoric. You're going to put your two images that you're going to receive on the left and right side. I don't care which one goes on which side, but underneath your image, make sure you put the title, the year. We say circa. Circa means approximately. That means we don't know for sure, but approximately. So if you see C 20,000 BCE, that means circa 20,000 BCE, which means around 20,000 BCE. And you also want to put the place. And then at the very bottom, we're going to put our characteristics of prehistoric art. So made before written records, made using natural materials, neutral color schemes, often depicting animals, possibly made for spiritual reasons. And then you can decorate this page with the prehistoric sort of aesthetic. You can use earthy, natural looking colors to sort of give your page a little bit of a prehistoric feel. So that's it for your first page. And I'll see you in the next video when we talk about ancient art.